Good evening. This meeting has been called to order. This meeting has been posted in compliance with the open meeting law. A quorum is present. We do have one. Oh, I'm sorry. A quorum is present, and we do have one member absent, and that is Blair Davenport. Okay, so let's have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. Each person has up to 5 minutes to speak on a specific agenda item. Members of the public may participate in the meeting without being physically present by one of the following methods. Written comments may be submitted via the public comment form. To comment during the meeting, members of the public may call 702-589-9629 when the public comment period is open, and it is now open. Since there is no public comment at this time, we will move on with the agenda. Number 1, for possible action, approval of the minutes of the January 26, 2022 regular meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as printed in our packet.
We need a second.
I second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carried. For possible action, update on implementation of the committee's goals and priorities.
Good evening, Chairwoman Graham and members of the Historic Preservation Committee. So, as we do monthly, this is an update on the committee's goals, which follow the city's historic preservation goals. You will see on page 17, the matrix. The matrix is broken out in terms of priorities. The goals that are highlighted in yellow are the highest priority. I do have a couple of updates to share, and of course they are noted in bold in the matrix. Goals 1.1 through 2.1 relate to work on the city's historic preservation ordinance. And the Historic Preservation Ordinance Ad Hoc Committee met on February 15th, reviewed SHPO's comments regarding the draft ordinance, and the committee is in agreement with those comments with some minor modifications. Staff is working to compile that and schedule a subsequent Historic Preservation Ordinance Ad Hoc Committee meeting in March and bring them back for the committee's review. Also, last night, as it relates to Goal 4.1, develop a minor home repair program for residential properties. that encourage and support historical integrity. The City Council approved the draft guidelines per the recommendations of the committee. So the next steps in that process is for city staff to promote those guidelines to our citizens to take advantage of the $100,000 that was budgeted for this fiscal year for that grant program. Again, this is for residential properties within the historic district. And then finally, under goal 2.3, applying community or certified local government funds toward preservation workshops and conferences, we are looking to schedule the National Alliance of Preservation Commission's camp, or the Commission Assistance Mentoring Program, for this May or June, which would include the Historic Preservation Committee. So we'll be reaching out to you to check on your availability. We would be flying members from the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions in to conduct training that will include the committee. And we'd be inviting other members of the community as well. And you may recall that we had received a $3,000 certified local government grant to be able to help pay for that. And then with that, I'll take any questions.
Yes, I did have one comment. I'm going to be, I have family coming in through the 10th. I wondered if we could schedule it in the later part of the month, in June?
May or June?
June, and then, well, our Historic Preservation Day is in May. So we're all kind of busy up until that point, like of the 15th.
Yeah, we could certainly look at later June dates.
I would prefer that. I don't know about everybody else, but I would like to be included in that training.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
On 1.1, about when do you think staff will be, how long does it take staff to work on bringing that back to the committee, that, the ad hoc committees? About how long? I'm just.
Yeah, we're looking at a date in March, and we're reaching out to check on committee members' availability to schedule that meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, hearing none, then we'll move on. Okay, for possible action, update from the Historic Preservation Ad Hoc Committee. Okay, Grace, since Blair's not here.
If Michael would defer to Michael on that one.
Oh, okay.
Well, beyond what I just reported, I don't know if there's anything else to share. Yeah. So if there's any questions.
Yeah, we just have to have one more meeting, it appears, after we receive that updated draft. So everything's going good.
Good. Yeah, well, that's perfect timing with our historic preservation event. So we'll kind of be all up to speed for that, so the public can be informed. Okay. All right. For possible action, discussion regarding activities for Historic Preservation Day and award for 2022.
As the report notes, Member Davenport, who isn't present tonight, prepared the attached, updated task list for all the venues. And relative to that and some of the other attachments in the report, staff had just a couple of questions, because on page 33 of the packet, you'll see we've got the rough draft outline of the page that would be added to the April utility mailer to promote Historic Preservation Day. And as I've mentioned before, we need to finalize that in early March. So for instance, based on past discussions, it wasn't quite confirmed who will be presenting something on behalf of the UNLV Department of History, or if, and what that would be about. And also, I'm sure Ray can address hopefully that one. And Charlie was supposed to confirm whether or not the Nevada State Railroad Museum was going to be offering a tour of that Vanderbilt rail car, or if something else would be proposed or available then instead.
Right, I did have one comment, and I did look at this mailer format, and it looks very good, and I liked the way this was written out. I did speak to Michael before he left earlier. In the first bullet, it says on page 33, attend a panel discussion on the topics of proposed changes to the city's historic preservation code and learn about the local grants available to the owners of historic properties. So I asked Michael if he would highlight the local grants available, and he said he would. So we'll include that also.
When you say highlight, are you referring to on this page?
Well, yeah, like the day of our Preservation Day, we're going to have our panel discussion.
Right.
And that'll be about the code. But at the same time, it says learn about local grants available to owners of historic properties. So at that same time, then we would have Michael talk about the local grants available.
Right. I mean, because that's what I recall from previous discussions, is that the panel discussion was supposed to be on both of those topics, the code and educating the public about those local grants available. So you're not saying anything's different, are you?
Okay, well, I guess I wasn't clear about that, so we'll just have to make sure that Blair, as moderator, includes both.
Well, that's what had been mentioned at previous meetings and is in the minutes, so
Okay,
I
that's
wasn't
fine.
aware that
Yeah, I
anything
guess
has changed.
I wasn't clear on that, so that's fine. We'll just have to make sure that Blair includes both then. Okay, very good. And then, go ahead, Ray. Yeah.
With regard to the history students from UNLV, I'm still trying to get together with Dr. Green. We did talk last week, and he's not fully committed to being there himself. He can't say with certainty that he's going to be there himself. However, the UNLV history students will be giving a presentation, and the topic or theme that he is considering is a conversation on, is Boulder City itself a historic artifact? So that's kind of the theme that he's got in mind right now, but that needs to be confirmed. But they will make the presentation, the students themselves, and Dr. Green may or may not be there, but they are committed to coming and doing this for us.
Do they
So
need,
the term presentation by the UNLV Department of History would be correct then?
Yes.
Okay. And relative to what, on page 32 of the packet was sort of a draft schedule, obviously, that one is very rough, since you still have another month or two to finalize that. Because that's where I had the question, was there a topic for the presentation? So hopefully they'll be able to get that finalized within the next couple of months.
Ray, are they going to need a PowerPoint like presentation? Because Tara asked me if they needed like a screen and a PowerPoint, because she has all that.
That's a good question. I'll bring that up to Dr. Green, but
Okay.
I would think that they would probably, I would
Yeah, just let
hope
me
they
know.
bring what they need to make the presentation with them, but I'll check with him on that.
I'll just have her make ready for it, and then if they need it, they can have it. Is that okay?
Oh, you mean Tara has one available?
She did. She
Oh.
asked me about it.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Great, sounds
So
good. I'll
I'll-
let them know that.
Okay. PowerPoint. All right. Is that enough information for you, Susan? Like to continue on as far as the presentation?
Yeah, for the
'Cause
presentation.
we had a deadline, right?
Right, the deadline is for the flyer on page 33.
Yeah.
The schedule details, you've still got a couple of months to work on. So regarding the flyer, if Charlie could chime in?
Right, a couple of things. I met with Chris McMahon and Dave Held last week. Chris is the new director of the museum, and Dave Held is, I think his title is, he's got a title. I think it's vice director or something, or whatever. But he's also the head of the Friends of the Railroad, and both of them are very interested in participating in the show. But a couple of things and I've got to go back to them, and I will this week, today's Wednesday, I'll call them, because the tour of the historic railroad car, they're talking about the Ellesmere, is that right?
Yeah,
Ellesmere car.
Vanderbilt car.
The Vanderbilt car,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's, Ellesmere
Has
is the name of it,
a
yeah.
name, yeah.
And I think they're gonna wanna change that wording. But what I wanted to, and I mentioned to them that I needed a bullet point to put in this about what they have. And so I'm gonna talk with them this week, because I needed to tell them that there's a deadline for this. So it's early March, Susan. When, do we know what early March is?
As soon as possible.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I'll get with them this week and tell them that we need a bullet point. And one of the things I was waiting for, I didn't have a copy of this. I'm gonna take this and show them, you know, what we're expecting, so that they can make their own bullet point.
Well, just as fair warning, I mean, you and neither you nor I nor Michael has final say over the wording in this, because, you know, this is not our sheet. It's, you know, under the department of the city manager's office.
Well, whatever.
However, we don't want to misrepresent.
Well, right,
so,
I mean, they
yeah.
need to, yeah, if it needs to be edited, that's okay, but I don't think, there seemed to be a little bit of reluctance on the part of Chris McMahon to include a tour of the Ellesmere car. Because first of all, it doesn't have any relationship to Southern Nevada nor Boulder City. It's a beautiful car and it needs to be toured, but a couple of things that they brought up is they have their normal railroad tour at 2:00 on Saturday. And if they get enough signature, if they get enough people to sign up, I think they need 12 people, they can get a reduced rate. And one of the things, by the way, that they want to have a table at the Power and Light Building. And they will man that table. And that might be a possible place to have a sign up for people that might want to go on tour. And if they get 12 people, they can get a discount on their ticket. But that's something that they can advertise at that table. I don't think we need to put it in the brochure, but, so basically I will try to get the information to put a bullet point in here that is what they're offering to do.
Right.
But basically they want a table at the Power and Light Building, and then they will provide some kind of program at the museum. And
At 1:30.
At 1:30. And that'll be up to them.
And then the 2:00
It'll be
tour
a
can
tour or
be
whatever.
included if they get 12?
If they get 12. Well, that is going to happen regardless,
Okay,
because that's their regularly scheduled
right.
rides at 2:00. The one thing that I did want to ask is that the timing, and I think we talked about this, is the timing of these events don't leave any time to get from one place to another.
No,
Or did we change that?
In Blair's version, she just left it as how you previously discussed it. But given Linda's notes about suggesting for that on the draft schedule on page 32, you'll note that I've kind of interspersed that in there. So
Right.
for instance, you know, the 9:00 session would go to 9:45, and the 10:00 session would go to 10:45.
But I'm wondering if we can have the noon session go from noon to 1:15, because if people want to go to the museum, the railroad museum, and they're attending the panel discussion, there isn't any time to get from the panel discussion to the Railroad Museum.
That's
Yeah.
a good point.
Well,
Yeah.
what I didn't know, up until this point, the only thing mentioned for the railroad was a possible tour
No,
of
I
that
know, I
car,
understand, Susan,
in
yeah,
which
yeah,
case,
yeah.
it wouldn't be essential that people all arrived there at 1:30 if it was supposed to extend till 3
But now they're,
p.m.
you know, and I didn't know that either, but they said they would like to have some kind of program at the, so I'm just asking, can we change that from noon to 1:15? I mean, an hour and a half for panel discussion is kind of a long time anyway, I think.
I
mean,
think,
Yeah, well, we
the
can
rest
do-
of the group should
We
weigh
can
in,
do
because I
how long the
didn't,
panel discussion, how long we want it.
So-
I didn't want to cut that
Mm-hmm.
one short in case the rest of the committee was not in favor of shortening that one.
Right.
But the thing that I'm thinking is, see, that if their regular 2:00 railroad tour, it only allows them half an hour. And if, you know, if people haven't shown up yet, they, you know, they've only got, because they've got to load the train and et cetera and et cetera. So I'm asking if,
I think we should maybe shorten it up half an hour. I think if it goes from 12 to 12:45, and then that gives a whole half an hour, because that is a little longer to travel
well,
from
that's, yeah, that's fine.
the LA Water and Power.
I-
You might have
Wait
to
a
get in a
minute.
car.
Are you talking about the panel discussion, changing it to only 45 minutes?
Yeah, that way it would give time.
Well, what about
Yeah.
changing it to 1, from noon to
1?
1? That gives
Okay.
a half an hour to.
All right,
So,
12 to 1? Okay,
yeah.
So is the group agreed on that? You want that to be noon to 1 p.m. then for the panel discussion?
To be honest, I'm a bit concerned that that's cutting it a bit
Gonna-
too short.
really? Okay,
But I don't know, I haven't participated in a lot of panel discussions, but
well, I
Do you
mean, we
want-
can make,
we've got a lot to talk
compromise
about.
at 1:15?
Yeah, I would be okay with the shortening,
15.
but by the 15 minutes.
I mean, 15
that's-
minutes is
yeah.
enough to get,
I wouldn't want to go
from
any
here
more
to
than that, though, I
there.
don't think.
it's not
Okay.
like we're in, yeah, okay.
all right, well, let's go from 12 to 1:15 then on the panel discussion. And that leaves time, if someone is going to all of the sessions, that gives them time to get to the railroad by 1:30.
Right.
And I think that's, in Boulder City, I think you can get around in 10 minutes, just about
Well, I
anywhere.
think you can get from here. to-
Yeah,
you can
so
get
I
from
think
here to-
15 minutes would be okay.
So.
Okay.
And then the other point is, in this flyer that, the page 32, is that gonna be handed out at the Power and Light Building, or is?
That's a rough draft version, because that would be the kind of thing where a handout would probably have a map on it as well
Okay,
as
yeah,
the
but-
schedule, but there would probably be a big poster of the schedule at the LA Water and Power Building, so people can easily see
But
it.
my question is, we do need to rewrite that Nevada State Railroad Museum.
Right, because that, like I said,
If-
again,
if-
the schedule,
Yeah.
this doesn't have to be completed for another month or two
Right,
yet.
exactly.
You know, just as long as it's, you know, we want to obviously be able to post it on the website before
right.
the event, so
Yep.
people can see what's planned, but it doesn't have to be done like right away like the flyer does.
Right, okay. So I can take this to Chris and Dave and say we need a,
Right, we basically.
what they want to do, and then we can.
Yeah, tell us what they plan to do,
Right,
and then we'll accommodate
Okay,
that.
so that's that. I do have one other item that isn't on my list of things, but just to let you know, and Jill's here. Yesterday, I went to the Chamber of Commerce and Maddie and I managed to digitize the cookbook, Ray.
Oh, great.
And Maddie is, the idea being is it will be digitized and posted on the Chamber's website so that anyone can access it. And so that part has been done, and then it's up to Jill to see when we'll get it posted. But I talked to Amber at the Dam Roast House the other day and mentioned that you had, or someone had thought about having local restaurants provide something out of the 1933. And she was really, really enthused about that. So she's gonna be able to access the cookbook so that they can go through it and pick a recipe, I don't know what kind of recipe they will do, but anyway, we've moved that along. The cookbook is
Excuse me.
in Jill's hands now, so.
Okay, good. All right. Okay, did we cover everything now then? We had, on that other,
There is some.
Well, again, Charlie will just need to get back within the next, like I said, by the end of the month, if you could, find out what
Yeah,
the Railroad Museum wants
Yeah,
for the
Susan,
bullet
I'll
point.
try to get a hold of them tomorrow or early next week. I think this is a short month. We're almost at the end of the month.
Right.
But anyway, they're definitely interested, and now that I know who they are, I have their contact information. I'll call them tomorrow and probably settle that, so.
Great.
okay, so then we're up to date then on the, draft flyer. Okay,
Regarding the Blair's task list, did you have any updates or corrections to that?
I do. I looked it over, today, again, pretty carefully, and I think we're gonna need 10 tables. And we requested 8, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna need 10, and then we're gonna need, I think 65 chairs instead of 50. And then I wasn't,
I'm just thinking 10 tables is gonna take up a lot of room in that building.
Well, I went over it. Do you want me to go
Yes,
over it?
please
Okay.
tell me what you think you need 10
Okay.
tables for.
Sure. Okay, the welcome guest table, 1, and then we need tables for the,
Okay, question. For
Yeah.
the welcome table, does that have to be separate from the Historic Preservation Committee table?
I think it should be. I think it should be, because that'll be kind of like in the entrance, yeah, when people, well, it could be in the foyer, or it could be when they walk in, but I think it should be separate.
Well, the plan is to have people sitting at the welcome table.
Yeah,
Between,
then Glenn and a volunteer, or Blair and a volunteer. So I think we need 2, so I have a table for the welcome.
wait a minute, you just said you think you need 2 tables or 2
Yeah.
volunteers?
No, 1 table for the welcome and 1 table for the historic preservation table.
Okay.
So that would make 2. So number 1 would be the welcome table. And then we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tables. 1 for the Boulder City Art Guild, 1 for the Boulder City Museum, 1 for the Boulder City History and Arts, the Historic Preservation table, and the Railroad table. So
Hold
that's,
it. I'm sorry. I got welcome, Historic Preservation Committee, Art Guild Museum, the History and Arts Foundation.
and the Railroad.
Okay, that's 6 tables.
Right, okay. And then,
And for the panel.
yeah, actually, I put 2 for the panel because there's 4 presenters. So I have down, yeah, two tables. So since there's 4 presenters, I think that gives enough for social distancing.
And out of curiosity, since I wasn't able to attend the panel discussion you had
Yeah.
2 or 3 years ago, were you all sitting at tables, or was it just people sitting on stools and speaking to the audience?
You know,
Or
I
in
don't
chairs,
remember.
speaking to the audience?
I don't
I have a
remember.
hard time remembering that.
Yeah, me
But,
too. Because I was so busy at the
Perhaps the table's not
welcome table.
necessary.
Because
Yeah.
I'm thinking the tables are gonna have to be around the perimeter of the room, and then
Well, the
all the
way we had
chairs
it-
set up in the middle facing the little stage, and that
Yeah.
the panel members and the moderator would be on the little stage.
Well, actually, they weren't on the stage. There's a
I mean,
stage.
no, I'm
Just
sorry,
a-
I apologize, I didn't mean
Yeah.
the stage in the alcove, I'm thinking of how it used to be set up for the choir concerts in
Oh,
there.
I don't think I've ever been to a concert in there. But the we weren't on the stage. The panel discussion was on the floor, not on the stage.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
okay.
and I don't know how it was, but the way I envisioned it was to have the people that are the panelists behind the tables, like having two tables, two at each table, since we're social distancing,
Well,
like sitting behind the table. And we could have like their names like on little nameplates. And then I don't know if Blair would want to sit in a chair or if she would have a podium. Because it could be done either way.
Blair would like, oh, I didn't
You think
realize
Blair
it
would
was
like
on.
a
I think-
podium?
No, I'm just thinking Blair would likely be mobile with a microphone
Okay.
to, if necessary, to people that have
That's true.
questions. So I doubt that she would be sitting.
well, we can work out these details later. Either Michael and I can meet with somebody from the group later on and map and figure that out, because I think
Yeah.
we'll need to be in the space in order to work that out.
Yeah.
But in theory, those are 8 tables, so what were
Yeah.
the 9th and 10th tables for?
Okay, well, we need one for refreshments, that's for donuts and coffee. So that would be another table.
Although technically, I believe, isn't there?
There is a
the
countertop.
counter in
There
the
is a
back
counter.
where it used to go into the kitchen and that,
There is a counter, yeah.
yeah. We'll
So
put
we
a
could use
question-
that,
Yeah, well, we'll have to go check it out, so.
okay.
I would just want to add with regard to that counter. So that kitchen back there, once all the tables, once all the chairs are unloaded from the carts,
Mm-hmm.
the empty carts go in, they're kind of stuffed back in there. So serving out the window, normally you keep that closed.
It wouldn't be
so it's only a
serving, it
little-
would just be setting
Yeah, but
stuff
it's,
up on the counter.
that's what I'm getting at. It's not wide enough, really.
So the
One-
counter's
think so.
small?
At our, the last event we had to use tables.
Did you?
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
So then we
for
should-
giving out refreshments,
So we should have an extra table then?
definitely.
Okay, okay.
And then what was the 10th one for?
Okay, I'm just trying to figure that out. It's I counted it up earlier today. So, let's see, 6. I have here 2 tables when guests arrive, but we probably only need 1.
Yeah, you're not gonna be, unless, I mean, the only sign-up sheet you might have is possibly for Railroad Museum rides, but honestly, that might be a little confusing because I guess, Charlie, you'd need to find out, how the Railroad Museum normally has people sign up, because if you had a bunch of people sign up theoretically there, but then they get to the museum at 2 and find out that the tourists who are already milling about have taken up, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
a bunch of spaces.
I'll ask them how they do that, yeah. Because they just told me that if you can get 12 people,
Right.
but that was a question I had is, well, how do you know that
As
you
I
have 12 people?
Yeah, and as I recall, the ride isn't that expensive,
No,
I
it's
think, to
not.
begin
Yeah,
with,
yeah.
so
No, I don't
a
know what-
discount may not be
But
a
I will ask
critical
them,
issue.
I'll try to get a little more detail on that, so.
In any case, if, like I said, I don't know why you'd need more than 1 table for the welcome table.
Yeah, okay, so maybe we only need 9 then. I think we
And
only need
again,
9.
We'll settle those details
Yeah,
later.
well, that was just, like I said, I
Yeah.
was just going over it,
Okay,
and I felt like we needed 10. But if we could go 9 and then 65 chairs instead of 50, because some of the chairs are gonna be used for the panel discussion. You know, we need 1, 2, 3, 4 chairs for that, and then that allows for a few more chairs.
Tables that are being manned.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
I was gonna mention, keep in mind that tables add up to a lot of square footage, so when it comes to
Right.
space for the public, we have to make sure there's enough room for them to be able to walk. Just having set up the tables and chairs before, I
Yeah.
think it's good to have that many chairs there.
Okay.
That's fine, but I'd be surprised if we could fit more than 50, considering we're
Okay.
putting all those
well,
tables.
we can always fold them up and put them up against the wall. Yeah, I mean, at
depends.
least they're available.
We'll have to
yeah.
see when
Yeah.
the day comes, maybe we can increase it.
Yeah, Okay,
So basically, what we can do is make sure that that number is available, and then who's ever there on the the Friday before the event for setup, that's when you'll be making those final decisions as to
Yeah.
what you can actually fit there. Ray, do you know for the art display, is one table gonna be adequate, or are they gonna bring their own easels or something else?
I think we should have 2 tables available for the art.
Okay.
And if it's not needed, then,
then we don't, yeah, so maybe we
yeah,
should have 10.
depending on how many artists take part in that event, I think having 2 tables available would be prudent, and if we only need 1, great.
So then it would increase it to 10.
Yeah, we'll go back to trying to make sure that 10 tables are available, and again,
Okay.
you know, I'm sure by the day before the event, you're gonna know how many art submissions there are, so.
Ray, do you know, are those 6-foot tables, 8-foot tables, or?
I believe they're 8-foot tables generally that are there. They're pretty long.
Okay, I was just wondering, because if they're 8-foot tables, like for the panel discussion, you only would need 1, you have 2 behind and 1 on each end.
Yeah.
You know, so you eliminate a table there and save some space. Just a
Well,
thought.
Yeah, we'll just play it by ear. I mean, what do we, just have to, we'll
No,
have to
so,
just,
one other little tiny thing, you can have a volunteer for passing out the refreshments, or is it just gonna be people help themselves?
well,
I think we would want to have somebody at the table.
Yeah,
Have somebody there overseeing that.
yeah, that's what I was wondering, because we need to think about adding another volunteer there to pass out water or whatever if we're
definitely.
gonna do that. so.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say at least
Well-
1 person to man that table, the refreshments.
I'm planning to recruit a few volunteers, but I probably won't be able to get more than 2 or 3, 2 or 3 of my, well, I know, but I mean like, just extra people that, other than the committee, Yeah, like help get some more people?
Sure.
Okay, good. Yeah, because then we have those little name badges for the volunteers, to wear, so
As
it looks
long as you-
official.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
See how many I can come up with and
Okay.
go with the next meeting.
Yeah, I think before when we did this, I think we actually had a list. We had, so that we could kind of make it a little more permanent, like with the volunteers. We could turn in a list maybe to you
Right. I mean,
Couple
the,
days before.
any volunteer tags will just be generic volunteer on them. They
Yeah.
won't have names, and I can make as many as you think you'll need.
Okay, all right. Yeah, and if all of us, maybe I know my husband will probably help. Maybe if Judy could help, that would be good. Maybe some of you could recruit a few friends, so that we can kind of get together, maybe 10. Oh, you do too, Charlie? Okay, so, I mean, there's plenty of time, so if we just all recruit a few friends and our spouses, I think we'll probably be able to cover it. Okay, so, all right, I have, like I said, I went over this. Does anybody have any more questions, or do we need to talk about it some more? I'm always gonna ask Ray. Ray, could you give us a report about the Art Guild? I know you were gonna talk to
Yeah.
Gina.
Well, the latest with the Art Guild is I met with Susan Common, and she's the liaison between us and the Art Guild with regard to the historic art contest. And so
Okay.
we have set a date for the plein air art
Oh,
day
good.
itself,
Okay,
which will feature the hotel. And that is going to be on, let me just check my calendar. That is going to be on March 19th.
okay,
And the artists then will be able to take the unfinished artworks
Yeah.
home with them and finish them at home if they wish to.
afterwards, that day of.
Yes.
Do you know what time that's gonna be, or?
We haven't set a
Haven't
time
set a
yet.
time, okay. Did they tell you if they wanted their paintings for sale?
They did, and they are going to take care of having a business license needs and things like that.
Okay.
And the art pieces will be available for sale.
Okay, good. All right,
And they're aware that they've got to handle all cash or
Yes.
check transactions on their own. It's
Yeah,
okay.
they will handle all that.
Just, I guess, you might want to verify with the business license office. Just maybe talk to Franny in business licensing and give her a heads up that this is what is planned in case there's anything different or perhaps less extensive for being a vendor at a special event than a normal business license. I don't know, that's why you should ask her.
Sure, I'll touch base with her and then Gina at the Art Guild.
okay, good. Let's see, oh, another question I had was, do they have a plan for the way the plenary session paintings will be on display and how the public can vote? That's why we might need another table for them, the Art Guild. Like,
Right, they'll
remember
have
how we had them vote?
2 tables.
Yeah. So,
Available to them. If they
Yeah.
don't need both, then
and they're
great.
they're gonna take care of all
But they're
that.
going to take care of the voting and, as they've done in previous years.
Right,
They
okay,
will have 2 Art Guild members manning that station.
okay, good. And then I'm planning to supply the ribbons like I did last time too, so.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, all right. Let's see. Oh, when I looked at the task list, Susan, I didn't see, where, the city was gonna take care of the coffee at the Browder bookstore. Cause I talked about that with Travis. Let's see, let's look at the task list. That's one thing I saw that hadn't been covered. It's not mentioned on the task list.
You say,
Okay, yeah, at the Browder bookstore, what I discussed with Travis was, that the city was going to buy the coffee. They'll be on their own to buy any kind of treats, but, and I told them we would pay up to 25 cups only.
okay,
Yeah, so if someone comes in asking for coffee, like at the Browder bookstore,
well, I'm gonna
discussed
guess
this with
they've
Michael.
got, I'm sure they have more than one type of coffee and possibly, more than one price.
yeah, I think we would only supply regular coffee, not anything fancy or anything. And I'll email Travis Walgren, that's who I have an email going with. And, tell him that we would only pay for, just a plain cup, not anything fancy, because I think they offer several types of coffees. And if somebody wanted that kind of coffee, then they would be on their own. I'll make that
Right.
clear.
Okay,
Because, yeah, we discussed that, I discussed that with Michael when we talked about the budget. And, so we do have some amount set aside for that. Go ahead, Clint.
We already provide them coffee at the LA Water Power Building, you know,
Yeah,
it's right across the street. If they want a cup of coffee, get it there, and I'm not sure why we wanna
well,
be
but
buying
there's
coffee at
different, yeah.
another venue. I mean,
I think the reason why is because we have, people will be going, some of them won't even be going to the LA Power Building. Some of them will be going straight to the Browder bookstore. So we wanted to supply something, so we went with coffee at the Browder bookstore, and then we went with, lemonade and cookies at the Boulder Dam Hotel. And then by the time they get to the, company store, if they were doing all 3 events, then, they're completely on their own there. And then, of course, no lunch either. Then they're on their own in town. So basically, we provide coffee twice, and then water, and then lemonade and sugar cookies. I think that was it. Okay, but I'll make that clear to Travis that it's only plain coffee, nothing fancy, and only 25 cups, because they could get carried away. Okay. Yeah, that's the only thing I didn't see when I looked at the task list. It
Okay.
wasn't mentioned. Okay,
Oh, I had a question for Ray. Do you know if Ray White is for certain doing a presentation at the water filtration plant?
Yes, he's confirmed that he will be there, and he'll give a presentation on how the plant operated and the chemicals, et cetera, that were used
that's really
to
interesting.
purify the water.
Yeah, I wish I could see that. I might be able to if I could squeeze it in.
Well, I do intend to videotape it,
Oh, do you?
so
Oh,
I'll
good.
save
Then I
it for
can't
you
see it,
just
yeah.
in case.
That sounds really interesting. When I toured the building before, I didn't get to see that, so that's very interesting. I think that's gonna be, well spent time there at that building. Okay, let's see anything else that I had a question about. Oh, now, I did put this down, and I don't know if it's true, but these are in my notes, Susan. Evidently, last time that we had this at the water treatment plant, the city provided volunteers with city shirts. Is that correct, Ray?
Yes.
Okay, so you might want to check on that, or have Michael check on that.
With city shirts?
Yeah, that was a requirement of us
Oh.
made by the previous city manager, I believe, that we
Okay.
have uniformed city staff
Okay.
there. I mean, that was just the one time. The other tours we've had, we didn't have to have that, but it was very welcome. It was
Yeah, I
nice to
think
have
that's a
them
good
there. So
idea.
I think I'm all for having that.
I think that's very good. It makes it look more official.
Alan Goya was one of the volunteers.
Was he?
He had his city shirt on.
Yeah, I think that makes it look more official, and I think it makes people feel safer, actually, you know?
Well, as long as they know to remind people to not jump over the railings or go under any barriers, because
Yeah.
it won't be safe if people break the rules or
Well,
if
when
they
they
don't
get
know
in
what
there,
the
they
rules
can
are.
see that they want to be careful, that's for sure.
I-
Those water pits
Yeah.
aren't filled with water anymore.
Yeah.
Well, then it would be a hard landing if you
Yes, it'd
went
be
over,
very-
so I'll
hard
ask
landing.
Michael about that.
Okay. Another question, Ray. I guess you were supposed to check with Jill to see if she could be on the panel.
Yes, Jill is going to be on the,
Okay.
she's enthusiastically agreed.
Good, great. Okay, glad that worked out. Okay, and Charlie's working on the railroad. The only other question I had that I was, well, there's two actually. The speaker and the microphone, that was a little bit of a concern for me. And it did say yes, but I couldn't tell if it
Which
meant yes.
page or event
That's
are you
what I'm
talking
looking.
about?
Well, we had requested a speaker and a microphone.
Are you talking about the panel discussion?
Yeah, the panel discussion, and, I know I read it, but now I'm trying to find where. Oh, here it is, on page 27. It says, determine if microphone and speakers are needed. Yes, from Parks and Recreation, so, does the Park and Recreation have a speaker and microphone? I wonder if we could check on it.
And Blair put you in charge of checking with that,
Yes,
so
she
you're
did.
welcome to check with the Parks and Rec.
Okay, you want me to do that? Okay, I can do that. Okay, I will check on it then. And I did speak with, oh, I can't think of his name right now, but, he's a friend of mine and he works at Albertsons. And he has been a volunteer for the American Legion. Mike Piscini, yeah, that's him. And Mike said if the Park and Recreation didn't have a speaker, he would be glad to help as a volunteer. Mike Piscini. So I'll go ahead and check with Roger to see if they have one. If not, then I will check with Mike Piscini. But he wants me to check with Roger first. Okay, so I'll follow through on that. Okay, and then I think I sent a note to you about the signs for Historic Preservation Day, and we were going to need 3 And that was gonna be at the Browder Building, the hotel, and the company store.
I wasn't clear about your notes
Okay.
that, because you had,
Yeah, I had a little
You had
drawing.
a- you had
put
a-
it here.
yeah, but you also had a note that it sounded like something would be moved from place to place?
Yeah, so the way I envision this is, and I asked you about easels before, and the easels, you said you could come up with, but the historic preservation sign.
Only if they're indoors?
Yeah, these are for indoors, and what I'd like it to be is just have it there on display so that they know, that this is Historic Preservation Day, and, see, because these places are gonna be open to the public, and if somebody
Right.
just wanders in there and sees what's going on, it would be nice to have a sign. And then if we wanna take pictures of the speaker, or, then there's an official sign there too. Is that clear how that would work? It's very simple, just Historic
So-
Preservation Day and then the city logo.
Right, okay. But is your idea still that somebody is moving the sign?
Yeah, I
One
was
of your
hoping-
volunteers is, so you really only need one sign and easel, because it's gonna
Well,
move from venue
it
to
could.
venue.
It could be one sign, if, I was hoping that Michael could set them up before, early, if we had 3 signs. They could just be set up in there early, and then I would be responsible for taking them down when we leave. Or we could have one sign. I think it might be easier if we had 3.
Easier for who?
Well, just for everybody, because we wouldn't have to, well, we'd have it already previously set up. It wouldn't have to be moved physically.
It depends on how many easels we can get our hands on also.
Yeah.
You may get stuck with one if all the
Okay.
easels are being used at the LA Water and Power
Yeah.
Building.
Right.
We'll see.
We'll see what you can work out. And then if it looks like it's only gonna be one, then we'll just have to move it. I can probably get it moved.
This can be determined later.
Yeah, okay, that was, I was kind of worried about that. Okay, I think that's the only thing else that I was, like, concerned about. So I did, I think it's pretty clear on the tasks there, but I did make drafts for you in case you needed it. One for you and one for Michael.
Draft changes, you mean?
Well, just a draft copy of everything, my notes. Yeah, I
Are
think
these
it's,
different than what's in the packet?
no, I think it's pretty much the same, but I just wanted you to see it and have it, just in case. I think we have everything pretty
Oh,
much.
that's definitely not what's in the packet, okay.
Yeah, just, that's my complete notes.
Okay,
And then you might, just double check. That's what I'm working off of. That helps me think too, to keep everything straight, when I do the draft, so. Okay,
So, can we go back to the February, the utility mailer info? Sorry. I'd like to address something with
Yeah.
the
okay,
utility mailer info regarding Historic Preservation Award.
okay,
So, the language in here states on page 25, under February utility mailer info. If you go down a couple of lines, it says the award recognizes
wait a
outstanding.
minute, you said page 25 of the
25
packet?
of the packet,
Okay,
under the February utility mailer info. So just the second sentence in, the award recognizes outstanding projects involving the preservation, rehabilitation, and enhancement of Boulder City's historic buildings and neighborhoods. So I would like to suggest that maybe we change that language to the award recognizes outstanding projects and examples of preservation, rehabilitation, and enhancement.
well, for one thing,
'Cause it sounds kind of limiting when we just say projects, like some
Well-
of these awards are going to buildings that were preserved long in the past, or the work perhaps
Right.
was done years ago, and so
Actually, the genesis of the award, and for most of the years, it was for, when, most of the years, the committee itself made the nominations before it was open to the public, and all of those were for projects. You know,
Projects.
rehab projects, additions, remodels, et cetera. Secondly, of course, the award mailer has already been mailed. I mean, the 1st and the 15th of the month, so we can't
Yeah.
change that. And third, that exact language came from Member Davenport.
Right.
Because we used to have different language in there, and she provided revised language that she wanted, which was presented to you, was either last year or the year before, but we used that because that's what she provided and the committee agreed on it. So perhaps for next year.
Maybe, for
Yeah.
future discussion, yeah, sure.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
obviously we can't do anything about the
Fine, that's fine,
8,000
Susan.
plus
Yeah, no, of
notices that have
course.
already been mailed.
All right,
so-
thanks.
Yeah, but yeah, please let us know for next year in
Very good.
advance, and we'll be happy to consider changes. So.
Yeah, another thing, I'm glad you brought that up. Another thing too, I know we're still into the getting in nominations for the award, but if for some odd reason, if we didn't get any nominations, then I guess we would go to Plan B. And then I guess we'll just take it up then if that happens, right?
Yeah, you'd have to. I mean, I checked just before this meeting started, and we still haven't gotten any nominations. And I did a test in the system just to make sure it was working. And that test one came through, so it's definitely working. We
Okay.
just have not received any, and this
Yeah.
is the 23rd of the month, so pretty much
still
everybody in
quite
the
a few
city
weeks,
has
yeah.
already received the notice. You've got a copy that the
Communications
Boulder City
Director.
Review put an article in the paper recently about it, and our communications officer has, done a bunch of media outreach
Right.
regarding that. Besides, basically you would have two options if you didn't get many or any, what you consider substantive nominations. And one is that you could nominate, properties yourself. And two, I would just need advance notice about this. There's no reason you can't consider prior nominees from prior years, because obviously every year since the public has been making nominations, it's not as if the winner was the one and only choice that all members submitted. You all normally had one or two or three top choices, and so maybe you'd want to consider a runner-up from a previous year that you all thought highly of that year. It just didn't,
Yeah,
become the winner that year. It's just that, as you know, staff has to give you a lot of background information for any that you want to consider, so we can reevaluate in March,
Okay.
since you're not choosing, I believe,
yeah, we
until
still have a little bit of
April.
time.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. All right, good. I'm glad we have an option, because we do want to have an award, so, okay. All right, are there any other comments at this time? Let's see. I'll find my. Okay, so I think we've pretty much covered that then. Okay, so we'll move on then for possible action. Discussion update on the status of properties in the historic district or other potentially eligible properties. Okay, any discussion? Okay, then we'll move on. For possible action, committee discussion regarding potential agenda items for upcoming Historic Preservation Committee meetings.
I meant to request this for this meeting, and I had forgot to send in my request, but I would like to request that we have some discussion at our next meeting about setting up a subcommittee
Okay,
For,
For the, pardon me, for the Historic Preservation Day events. For,
Okay.
to discuss,
Okay.
two of us. Is it two, can it be more than two, or?
if it's a subcommittee, I think it can't be more than 3. I think a subcommittee can't.
Yeah,
I'll have to check with the clerk's office if there's a limit on how many can be
I
on
think
a
I
subcommittee.
would be looking for 3, so just keep that in mind.
Okay, all right, so then the subcommittee then would be in the March packet then? Yeah, okay. Okay, all right, very good, then we'll move on then to public comment. Each person has up to 5 minutes to speak at the discretion of the chair. Comments made during the public comment period of the agenda may be on any subject. All remarks shall be addressed to the Historic Preservation Committee as a whole, not to any individual member of the Historic Preservation Committee or of the audience or of the city staff. No person other than members of the Historic Preservation Committee and the person who has the floor shall be permitted to enter into any discussion, either directly or through a member of the Historic Preservation Committee, without the permission of the chair or presiding officer. No action may be taken on a matter raised under this item. Okay, so if you'd like to call in and have a comment, you may do so. And you can call in at 702-293-9208. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. The proper call in to this committee tonight is 702-589-9629. Thank you, Holly, back there, who's helping us. Okay. And we'll leave that open in case you want to call in. Okay, since there is no public comment at this time, this meeting is adjourned.